Hi, everybody. Dennis Prager here. A very important book has just been published by a great imprint, Bombardier Books. I know them well. The Diversity Con. What a great title. The secrets and lies behind the shady D.E.I. industry. Two authors, David Johnson and Kent Heckenlively, wrote it. I have David Johnson on the line, and you can see him at Salem News Channel. And the foreword was written by someone named Dennis Prager. Have to check him out. Heard good things about him. I heard a lot of
good things about Dennis Prager too.
Yeah, but I want you to know there are a lot of bad things to be heard about Dennis Prager if you read the mainstream media. Anyway, congratulations on the book. When did it come out?
It came out about 3 weeks ago.
What prompted you to write it?
I was an engineer working with Hasbro, and in my time there, they brought all the engineers and some of the other departments into a meeting to tell us how they wanted to start designing the products, packaging, and marketing with critical race theory in mind and critical gender theory. And it's something I'd been following through alternative media for a few years, but when that came to my place of work and they wanted me to participate in what I consider vile indoctrination, I just had to take a stand, and I brought that story to Project Veritas, and then that story went nationwide. And following that, I decided that more people need to understand this ideology. And the best way I could think to do that was to write a book and go into in depth on how this praxis is performed in companies and schools.
Did you end up going to one of these re-education sessions at your place of work? Were you able to avoid it?
I was not. I was fairly new at the time, and it was mandatory for me. So I did sit through the entire about an hour long presentation. And then in the process of writing this book, I went through several more.
Several more.
Several. I am an expert on DEI now.
So here is a question I ponder a lot. How many people at any random business sit through this and think, "Wow, she's right." It's usually a she. She's right. So, hey, by the way, was it a she?
The presenters through the original one, it was a man and a woman, but the woman was leading it.
Right. It's almost always the case. But in any event, how many people, maybe it's not knowable the answer, how many people at an average business think, I got to sit here, but this is nonsense?
I would guess a fairly high percentage, obviously depending on the region of the country that you're in. I think most people just go along with it because, one, standing up against something that your company is promoting is a really good way to not work at that company anymore. And a lot of people are probably seeing the social pressures from people who do stand up and think that they don't want any part of it.
So what did you do?
I did the exact opposite. I've never been one to kind of go with the crowd. And I just thought, even if I lost my job at Hasbro, which I did, that it was far more important to get this information to the public and especially to the parents that they were trying to subvert.
Now, where does the parents part come in? Because this was not at a school that you got this DEI lecture.
No, this was at when I was working with Hasbro. So their goal was to, through the packaging and marketing, to introduce racial ideology and gender ideology in a manner that the parents would not notice it, but it would influence the children. And then as a result of influencing the children, it would also influence the parents in sort of a backwards manner. But it was subversive. And that's the part that I found the most troubling. It's one thing if you were to go to parents and say, hey, we want your children to start thinking in terms of racial and gender lines. We want them to start judging people based on race. And if you go to someone and tell them that, they're probably going to reject you because most Americans are not racist people. But to do it through the subversive and covert manner that is very typical, and it is the
All right.
intended route
All
for
right, hold
these
on one
people.
second. The book is The Diversity Con. Really important. Up at DennisPrager.com.